Section 1. The invisible hand. Right now, someone is trying to manipulate you. An advertisement, a politician, a coworker, maybe even someone you love. And here's what's terrifying. The best manipulation is completely invisible. You never see it. You never feel it. You just do what they want. And you think it was your own idea. This is the dark art of invisible influence. It's been used by emperors, cult leaders, intelligence agencies, and the most successful salespeople on the planet. They don't force you. They don't threaten you. They don't even ask you. They simply arrange reality so that you choose what they want. Today, I'm going to teach you how they do it. 7 manipulation techniques, so powerful, so subtle, that the target never knows they're being influenced. By the end of this video, you'll see the invisible strings that control human behavior. You'll understand how decisions are manufactured, and you'll have the power to use these techniques yourself. But I have to warn you, once you see how manipulation really works, you can't unsee it. You'll notice it everywhere, in advertising, in politics, in your relationships. This knowledge is a door, and once you walk through it, there's no going back. Are you ready? Let's begin. Section 2. Why most manipulation fails. Before I teach you how to manipulate effectively, let me show you why most people fail at it. They're too obvious. They push, they pressure, they make their intentions clear, and the moment someone feels they're being manipulated, they resist. It's called psychological reactance. The harder you push, the harder they push back. Think about the last time a pushy salesperson tried to sell you something. What happened? You probably shut down. You resisted. You might have even done the opposite of what they wanted, just to prove you couldn't be controlled. This is why obvious manipulation fails. The masters of influence understand something different. The best manipulation doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like your own free choice. When someone is truly skilled at influence, you don't feel pushed. You don't feel pressured. You feel like you're making your own decision, following your own desires, acting on your own thoughts. But those thoughts were planted. Those desires were created. That decision was engineered. This is the difference between an amateur and a master. The amateur tries to change your behavior. The master changes your reality, and then your behavior follows naturally. Here's the principle that governs all effective manipulation. People don't resist their own ideas. If I tell you what to think, you'll resist. But if I arrange things so that you come to your own conclusion, the conclusion I wanted all along, you'll embrace it completely. This is the foundation of everything I'm about to teach you. Now let me show you exactly how it's done. Here's the principle that governs all effective manipulation. People don't resist their own ideas. If I tell you what to think, you'll resist. But if I arrange things so that you come to your own conclusion, the conclusion I wanted all along, you'll embrace it completely. This is the foundation of everything I'm about to teach you. Now let me show you exactly how it's done. Section 3. Technique 1. The false choice. The first technique, the false choice. This is one of the most elegant manipulation techniques ever devised. It's used by salespeople, negotiators, parents, and politicians. Anyone who needs to guide decisions without appearing to do so. Here's how it works. Instead of asking someone to do what you want, which invites resistance, you give them a choice between 2 options. Both options lead to your desired outcome. They feel in control because they're choosing. But you're in control because you designed the options. Let me give you examples. A salesperson doesn't ask, "Would you like to buy this?" That invites a no. Instead, they ask, "Would you prefer the blue one or the red one?" Now you're not deciding whether to buy, you're deciding which to buy. The sale is already assumed. A parent doesn't say, "Clean your room." That invites resistance. Instead, "Do you want to clean your room before dinner or after dinner?" The child feels autonomous, but cleaning the room is no longer optional. A manager doesn't say, "I need you to work this weekend." Instead, "Would Saturday or Sunday work better for you?" The employee chooses the day, but working the weekend is now the frame. This technique works because of how the human brain processes choices. When given options, we focus on comparing those options, not on questioning whether we should choose at all. Our critical thinking gets redirected from should I to which one. Here's how to use this in your life. Never ask yes or no questions when you want a specific outcome. Always offer two acceptable alternatives. Instead of can we meet, say, would Tuesday or Thursday work better? Instead of will you help me, say would you rather help with this part or that part? Instead of do you want to go out, say should we try? If you want someone to choose option A, present three options. Option A, option B, slightly worse, and option C, clearly terrible. Option C makes A and B look good. Option B makes A look better by comparison. And suddenly, A, your target, seems like the obvious choice. Restaurants do this with wine lists. The third most expensive bottle is often the best value, and they know most people will choose it. The most expensive bottle is a decoy that makes the third one seem reasonable. Real estate agents do this too. They show you a terrible house first, then a mediocre one, then the one they actually want to sell you. By comparison, it seems perfect. The false choice is invisible because it feels like freedom, and that's what makes it so powerful. Section 4. Technique 2. Emotional anchoring. The second technique, emotional anchoring. This is how you control not just what people think, but how they feel. Here's the principle. Emotions are not random. They can be triggered by specific stimuli, a song, a smell, a word, a gesture. These triggers are called anchors, and anchors can be deliberately created. Advertisers know this well. They pair their products with positive emotions, happiness, excitement, belonging, desire. Over time, the product itself begins to trigger those emotions. That's why car commercials show freedom and adventure, not engines and transmissions. That's why perfume ads sell romance and mystery, not chemical compounds. That's why politicians wrap themselves in flags and family images. They're building emotional anchors. You can do the same thing in personal interactions. Here's how. Step 1. Identify the emotional state you want to create. Trust, excitement, comfort, attraction. Step 2. Get the person into that state naturally. Tell a story that evokes the emotion. Ask them about a happy memory. Make them laugh. Share an exciting idea. Step 3. While they're in that state, create an anchor. This could be a specific touch on the arm or shoulder, a unique phrase you use, a particular gesture, or even a specific location. Step 4. Repeat this process several times. Each time they feel the positive emotion, reinforce the anchor. Step 5. Now you can trigger the emotion by activating the anchor, using that touch, phrase, gesture, or returning to that location. This is the basis of classical conditioning, discovered by Pavlov over a century ago. But it works on humans just as well as it worked on his dogs. Let me give you a practical example. Every time you have a positive interaction with your boss, end it with a specific phrase like, "Great talking with you." Say it with a genuine smile while making eye contact. Do this consistently, after good meetings, after praise, after positive moments. Over time, that phrase becomes anchored to positive feelings. Now, before asking for a raise or pitching an idea, use that exact phrase. Their subconscious will be primed with positive associations, making them more receptive. Here's another example. When you first meet someone you want to connect with, identify moments when they're laughing or feeling good. At those moments, use a light touch on the arm. Do this a few times. Touch only during positive emotional states. Later, that touch alone will begin to trigger positive feelings, even if the conversation is neutral. The power of emotional anchoring is that it works below conscious awareness. People don't know why they feel good around you. They don't know why they're more receptive to your ideas. They just are. And that's the most dangerous form of influence, the kind no one sees coming. Section 5. Technique 3. Strategic scarcity. The third technique, strategic scarcity. This principle is simple but devastatingly effective. We want what we can't have, and we want it more when it's running out. Scarcity triggers a primal fear of missing out. It bypasses rational thought and creates urgent desire. This is why limited time offers work, why only 3 left in stock makes us buy faster, why exclusive clubs are more desirable than open ones. But scarcity isn't just for sales. It's a manipulation tool you can use in any situation. Here's how to apply it. Scarcity of time. Create deadlines, even artificial ones. I can only offer this until Friday. I'm making a decision by tomorrow. This opportunity won't be available next month. Deadlines compress decision-making and reduce resistance. Scarcity of access. Make yourself less available. The person who's always free seems desperate. The person who's occasionally unavailable seems valuable. Don't always answer immediately. Don't always be free. Create the impression that access to you is limited. Scarcity of information. Don't reveal everything at once. Give pieces gradually. There's more I could tell you, but not here. This creates curiosity and keeps them coming back. Scarcity of approval. Don't give praise freely. When everyone gets complimented, compliments mean nothing. When only exceptional work gets recognized, your approval becomes currency. People will work harder to earn what's rare. Here's the psychology behind this. Scarcity triggers what's called loss aversion. The fear of losing something hurts roughly twice as much as the pleasure of gaining it. When something is scarce, the fear of missing out becomes more powerful than the rational evaluation of whether we actually need it. Master manipulators use this constantly. They create artificial scarcity where none exists. They manufacture urgency. They make their time, their attention, their approval seem rare and valuable. But here's the key to using this ethically. Real scarcity works better than fake scarcity. If you manufacture fake deadlines or fake limitations and people discover it, your credibility is destroyed. The masters create real scarcity by actually being selective, actually being busy, actually having standards. They don't pretend to be scarce. They become scarce by being valuable enough that their time actually is limited. When you raise your value, scarcity becomes authentic, and authentic scarcity is the most powerful kind. Section 6. Technique 4. Social proof hijacking. The fourth technique, social proof hijacking. Human beings are tribal creatures. We evolved in groups where following the crowd meant survival. Going against the tribe meant death. This programming is still running in our brains today. When we're uncertain what to do, we look at what others are doing, and then we follow. This is social proof, and it's one of the most powerful manipulation levers in existence. Here's how it works. If everyone seems to be doing something, we assume it must be right. If nobody is doing something, we assume it must be wrong. This bypasses critical thinking entirely. We don't evaluate the action, we just copy the crowd. Advertisers use this constantly. Join millions of satisfied customers. There aren't one choice of professionals everybody's talking about. These aren't logical arguments, they're social proof triggers. But you can use this same principle in personal manipulation. Manufacture consensus. When trying to persuade someone, reference others who agree. Most people I've talked to think the general consensus seems to be everyone I respect believes, even if it's just a few people. Framing it as a majority opinion makes it harder to resist. Use testimonials. If you want someone to trust you, have mutual connections vouch for you first. Third-party endorsements are more powerful than self-promotion. Before a big meeting, have someone else talk you up. Before asking for a favor, have someone else mention your reliability. Create visible momentum. If you want people to join something, make early adoption visible. Show who's already on board. Display the number of people involved. Humans join movements, not ideas. Make your idea look like a movement. Leverage authority figures. When the crowd isn't enough, invoke authority. Experts agree. Studies have shown The CEO himself said, "Authority is a form of social proof. We trust the judgment of those above us." Simply control the social information someone receives, and you control what seems normal to them. If they only hear perspectives that align with what you want, your desired outcome becomes the obvious choice. Social proof doesn't ask for agreement, it assumes it. And that's what makes it so hard to resist. Section 7. Technique 5. Future pacing. The fifth technique, future pacing. This is a method used by the most skilled persuaders in the world, therapists, negotiators, salespeople, and leaders. It's how you get someone to commit to an action before they've actually decided to take it. Here's how it works. Instead of asking someone to make a decision now, you get them to imagine a future where they've already made it. You paint a vivid picture of life after the decision. You make them see it, feel it, experience it mentally. And once they've experienced the outcome in their imagination, the actual decision feels like a formality. Here's the psychology. Our brains have trouble distinguishing between vividly imagined experiences and real ones. When you visualize something intensely, so when you make someone imagine a future outcome vividly, they begin to form an emotional attachment to it. They start to feel like it's already theirs. And humans are loss-averse. Once something feels like ours, we'll fight not to lose it, even if we never actually had it. Here's how to apply this. Paint the picture. Imagine 6 months from now, when this project is finished. You're looking at the results, feeling proud of what you've accomplished. Your boss is impressed. You're getting recognized for this. Use present tense. Don't say you would feel, say you feel. Don't say you could have, say you have. This makes the visualization more immediate and real. Engage all senses. Picture yourself in that corner office. You can see the city skyline through the window. You feel the leather chair beneath you. You hear your phone ringing with congratulations. Assume the sale. When you're using this every day, you'll notice, after you've implemented this, you'll find this presupposes the decision has been made. Here's a practical example. You want your partner to agree to a vacation destination. Don't argue about logistics. Instead, imagine we're there. We're waking up to the sound of waves. We walk out onto the balcony with our coffee, feeling the warm breeze. We spend the whole day with nothing to do but enjoy each other's company. No phones, no work, just us. You're not asking them to agree. You're making them feel what it would be like. And once they feel it, they want it. The same works in business. Picture this implementation complete. Your team is running smoothly. The problems that used to keep you up at night are solved. You're finally able to focus on growth instead of fires. You're selling the future, not the present. And the future is always easier to sell, because in the future, all the problems are already solved. Section 8. Technique 6. Inception seeding. The sixth technique, inception seeding. Yes, like the movie, because the concept is real. This is the art of planting an idea in someone's mind so that they believe it's their own. It's the most subtle form of manipulation and the most powerful, because people will fight for their own ideas but resist yours, so you make your idea become their idea. Here's how it works. Don't state. Question. Instead of telling someone what to think, ask questions that lead them there. You want them to conclude that the project needs more time? Don't say it. Ask, what do you think would happen if we rushed this? Where might we run into problems? What's the risk of not being thorough? Let them arrive at the conclusion themselves. Plant seeds early. Mention an idea casually, in passing, without pushing for any response. I read something interesting about X, or someone mentioned Y to me the other day. Then drop it. Later, when the idea comes up again, they won't remember where they first heard it. It will feel like their own thought emerging. Use third-party stories. A friend of mine was in a similar situation, and what worked for her was, this distances you from the idea while still planting it. They can adopt the strategy without feeling like they're following your advice. Praise the idea when it emerges. When they finally express the idea you planted, Act surprised and impressed. That's a really good point. I hadn't thought of it that way. This reinforces their ownership of the concept. Here's the critical principle. The more someone feels an idea is theirs, the more committed they are to it. If you tell someone to do something, they might comply, reluctantly, but if they think it was their own idea, they'll pursue it with enthusiasm. This is why Socrates never taught through statements. He taught through questions. He led his students to discoveries that felt like their own insights. The manipulation was invisible because the students genuinely believed they were figuring things out themselves. Here's a practical application. You want your team to adopt a new process. Don't announce it. Instead, start by asking about pain points. What's frustrating about our current approach? Let them vent. Then ask, if you could redesign this from scratch, what would you do differently? Guide with questions. What if we tried X? What would happen? Let them build the solution you already had in mind. When they present it, praise it, implement it, give them credit. They'll be invested because it's their idea, and you got exactly what you wanted. The best manipulators are invisible gardeners. They plant seeds, they create conditions for growth, and then they let others believe they discovered the flowers themselves. Section 9. Technique 7. The identity shift. The seventh technique, the most powerful of all, the identity shift. Every other technique I've taught you targets behavior or decisions. This one targets something deeper, identity. Here's the principle. People don't just make choices. They make choices that are consistent with who they believe they are. A person who identifies as healthy will choose salad over pizza, not because of willpower, but because that's what healthy people do. A person who identifies as successful will take on challenges, not because they're brave, but because that's what successful people do. Identity drives behavior automatically, effortlessly, consistently. So if you want to influence someone's behavior permanently, don't target the behavior, target their identity. Here's how. Label them. Give people identities through labels. You're the kind of person who, one thing I've noticed about you is that you're someone who, that's such a positive trait thing to do. When you label someone positively, they feel good, and then they're motivated to live up to the label to prove you right. Call someone reliable, and they become more reliable with you. Call someone generous, and they become more generous. Call someone brave, and they'll take more risks. The label becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. Use identity-based language. Instead of "will you do this?" ask, "Are you someone who does this?" Instead of "can you help me?" try, "You seem like the kind of person who helps when it matters." Instead of "will you vote?" try, "Are you a voter?" Studies show that identity-based questions dramatically increase compliance because people want to be consistent with who they believe they are. Invoke their ideal self. Everyone has a gap between who they are and who they want to be. A master manipulator speaks to the ideal self. I know you're the type of person who followed by the ideal behavior. This triggers the desire to close the gap, to become the person you've suggested they already are. Create commitment. Small commitments lead to identity shifts. If someone agrees to a small request, they begin to see themselves as the type of person who does that thing. "Could you sign this petition?" Seems innocent. But once they sign, they think, "I must care about this cause. I signed the petition," and now they're more likely to donate, volunteer, or vote for it. This is called the foot-in-the-door technique. Small commitments change identity, which changes future behavior. Here's the dark power of this technique. Once someone's identity shifts, they don't need to be manipulated anymore. They manipulate themselves. They police their own behavior. They stay consistent with their self-image. They do what someone like them would do. You've installed a program that runs automatically. This is how leaders build movements. They don't just persuade people to take action. They transform people into the kind of person who naturally takes that action. They create believers, and believers don't need to be convinced. They convince themselves. Section 10. Conclusion. The ethics of power. Let me leave you with this. I've just taught you 7 of the most powerful manipulation techniques in existence: the false choice, emotional anchoring, strategic scarcity, social proof, future pacing, inception seeding, the identity shift. Each one works. Each one is being used on you by advertisers, politicians, salespeople, even people you know, every single day. Now you can see the strings. But with this power comes a question you must answer for yourself. How will you use it? These techniques can be used to help people, to lead them toward better decisions, to inspire them to become better versions of themselves. Or they can be used to exploit, to deceive, to take advantage of those who don't see the manipulation. The techniques themselves are neutral. Like any tool, they can build or destroy. I'm not going to tell you how to use them. That's your choice. Use these techniques to show people their own potential, to help them see possibilities they were blind to guide them toward decisions that genuinely serve them. That's influence at its highest level. Not manipulation for your benefit, but leadership for theirs. Machiavelli is remembered as the father of manipulation, but even he wrote, "The best fortress is to be found in the love of the people." Real power isn't making people do what you want. Real power is making people want what you want, because it's also what's best for them. If this video gave you value, subscribe. Next week, I'll teach you the other side, how to never be manipulated again, how to see every trick, resist every technique, and remain sovereign over your own mind. Until then, remember, the world is full of invisible influence. Now you can see it. What you do with that vision is up to you.